The Salem-Keizer School Board of October 13th, 2015 to order. Welcome everybody, and please rise. Some students from Leslie Middle School are going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for leading us in the pledge. Roll call, Christy.
Rick Kimball,
Here.
Paul Kylo,
Here.
Chris Brantley,
Here.
Marty Hyen. Here. Jim Green is absent this evening. Chuck Lee,
Here.
Nancy McMorris Audix.
Here.
Thank you, Christy. As far as agenda modifications, we have none tonight, so we'll go through the agenda as presented, and first is Spotlight on Success.
Good evening. Our first spotlight is from Salem-Keizer Education Foundation, Karina Lee, with our Volunteer of the Month.
Good evening and thank you. I would like to ask Mr. Pat Farnworth and our principal from Valley Inquiry Charter School, Manuel Palacio, to make their way over to Rick and Superintendent Perry. We are recognizing Pat Farnworth as our Volunteer of the Month for October. He was nominated by the entire staff at Valley Inquiry Charter School. Pat has 2 children at Valley Inquiry and has been a volunteer there since his daughter, now in the 4th grade, since she started kindergarten in 2011. He volunteers in the library and in the classrooms. He works with the students, supports the teachers, and he has set up the Valley Inquiry's Battle of the Books program. Pat communicates well with staff and keeps up on calendar events. He's always friendly and helpful and seems to enjoy helping out wherever he is needed. Staff look extremely forward to his shining smile and great enthusiasm. They are most appreciative that he chose to volunteer at Valley Inquiry Charter School. Thank you for your support for the students in Salem-Keizer School District, and congratulations.
Our Business Partner of the Month is going to be presented by Mary Paulson, standing in for Jay Remy tonight.
Good evening. Thank you, members of the board, Superintendent Perry. I'd like to call up Lindsay Braun, who is the manager of the Lancaster and Silverton Road Starbucks, and Sandy Price, who is standing in for Michelle Halter tonight. You'd join the board chair, please. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and read, and we won't make Sandy stand up there by the board chair. So, the Lancaster Silverton Road Starbucks, managed by Lindsay Braun, is our Business Partner of the Month. They were nominated by Hayesville Elementary staff. Over the years, this Starbucks location has provided coffee and treats for Hayesville staff on meeting days and on long conference days. Starbucks staff have gone out of their way to be in the classroom at Hayesville for Read Across America Day. They alternate between reading one-on-one with students and reading in groups. When interacting with the students, they have fun and really get down to the students' level. The staff at Starbucks are always friendly, kind, and generous to Hayesville students and staff. They even remember the school staff by name when they go into the coffee shop on their own time. They wanted to mention that. Hayesville staff and students are happy and feel fortunate to have Starbucks as a business partner. So our thanks to Starbucks for what they do.
We have several students from Candelaria Elementary to honor tonight, and Lisa Harlan, our elementary director, is going to present those spotlights.
So I think we're still waiting for some of those students to arrive, and I don't know if we'd like to do that now without them, with Carl Paulson, the principal, or?
Mr. Paulson, do you think they're on their way? Should we pause and go on to the next one if they should? All right, so the next spotlight will be for Michael Wolf, our Chief Operations Officer, will be presenting the next award.
Good evening, Superintendent, Chair Kimball, and board members. Tonight, I'd like Susan Dodd to come forward and any staff members that oh, perfect. Tonight, we honor the financial services section with Susan Dodd and Francisco Pena. Congratulations to both for once again receiving awards for the district's comprehensive annual financial report. The awards are in recognition of outstanding governmental accounting and financial reporting. Both awards have been received for one or both for over 27 consecutive years. So one is from the Association of School Business Officials International, and it is the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting for fiscal year ending 2014. And then the other one is the Governmental Finance Officers Association, and theirs is the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. Again, I think it might be worth highlighting that one or both of these awards, 27 consecutive years running. So congratulations and thank you.
So Mr. Paulson, if you happen to see some kids come in, maybe give us a signal and we'll watch. Okay.
Okay, we'll continue on. We will go back to Spotlight on Success, so if our young students show up. Audience communications is next on the agenda. And this is on agenda items only. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you have any copies of materials to pass out, please get them to our board assistant, Christy, here on the west side of the dais. And please don't sign up anyone else but yourself, which you haven't done. Pete Teller, please come forward.
Good evening, Chair Kimball, Superintendent Perry, and board directors. Glad to be here this evening. I brought several students with me to actually introduce and kick off National Hands and Words Are Not for Hurting Week. So if I could have the students join me at this time. Before they actually do the presentation, I'll let them each introduce themselves. They'll state their name and what grade they're in.
That'd be great.
First and last.
Kailani Kellaway, and I'm in 8th grade.
My name is Natalie Nyquist, and I am in 7th grade.
I'm Eric Martz, and I'm in 8th grade.
I'm Isabella Waterlick, and I'm in 7th grade.
I'm Gretchen Olson, and I'm in 8th grade.
Melania Umlop, and I'm in 8th grade.
I'm Aiden Stone, and I'm in 8th grade.
The 18th annual Hands and Words Are Not for Hurting Week that starts next week is more than a proclamation read at public meetings. It is a commitment, a choice, a way of life. The beautiful 14-word pledge, I will not use my hands or my words for hurting myself or others, are words that both unite and inspire. Imagine a world without hate.
Imagine a world filled with random acts of kindness instead of random acts of violence.
Imagine world peace, not world war.
Imagine a world where a person is not judged by the color of their skin. Imagine a world that cares more about the content of a person's character instead of the contents of their wallet.
Imagine a world where women control their own destiny.
Imagine a world where children don't go hungry. Imagine a world where a country that has 3.5 million homeless people and 18.5 million empty houses can solve a human housing problem.
Imagine a world where immigrants and refugees can have the lives they deserve.
You may say that I am a dreamer, but I am not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the whole will live as one. Please take the pledge and mean it with your whole heart.
Thank you very much. We hope at this point that when we move to the hands proclamation that we can lead the audience in the Hands and Words Are Not for Hurting pledge.
Thanks for coming down, Pete. Okay, nobody else has signed up to speak on the agenda items, so we will move on to our action items. And the first one is a proclamation on the Hands Are Not for Hurting Week. I'm going to go ahead and read this proclamation. Whereas a world without abuse and violence is a dream we all share, and whereas we acknowledge that any form of mistreatment of another is abuse, and whereas abuse can be seen in the form of verbal, mental, or physical, and often escalates to further violence, and whereas we believe that all people have the right to live free of abuse and violence, and whereas we believe that every person can make a difference in stopping abuse, including cyberbullying and violence, by not using violence to control others, by not tolerating any form of abuse from others, and by developing healthy relationships at every age and in all circumstances based on respect and equality. And whereas we recognize and support the efforts of district staff and our community in promoting respect and equality for all people, teaching conflict resolution behaviors, and helping students learn how to stop abusive cycles. And whereas we recognize the Hands and Words Are Not for Hurting Project's pledge is an effective tool in abuse and violence prevention, and now therefore, the Board of Directors of Salem-Keizer School District 24J proclaims October 18th through the 24th, 2015 to be the 18th National Hands and Words Are Not for Hurting Week in the Salem-Keizer School District. We call upon our community to observe October 18th through the 24th, 2015 as the Hands and Words Are Not for Hurting Week, and encourage everyone in the community to take the pledge. And the pledge is, I will not use my hands or my words for hurting myself or others. And that is a proclamation before the board. Nancy?
I move adoption.
Have a second from Paul? Any comments or discussion? Oh, Nancy?
I just want to applaud the Leslie students for coming down and sharing with us. It's always a highlight to me to see them, and always impressed with how well-spoken they are. I also would like to point out that this has really gone national and perhaps even international, but it really began in Salem-Keizer with an emergency room nurse who was tired of seeing the consequences of abuse in the ER. So it's really exciting to see where it's gone.
Anybody else? Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the proclamation as stated. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposition, same sign. None, it passes unanimously.
Do we take the pledge?
So, Pete, would you like to come forward, and those in the audience who would like to take the pledge can take the pledge?
Yes, for anyone who would like to, if you would please stand and raise your right hand with us. And repeat after us. I will not use my hands or my words for hurting myself or others. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank the students from Leslie for coming down tonight and participating in our meeting with us. Next on our action list is appointment of members of the Citizen Budget Committee. Get to this on my board plate here. The Budget Committee of the Salem-Keizer School Board is a member group consisting of the 7 school board members as well as 7 appointed volunteers. The committee is an advisory group established by statute to make budgetary recommendations to the school board. Budget Committee appointees serve 3-year terms and may apply for additional service once their appointed terms have expired. The Budget Committee is open to all qualified registered voters of the district, except officers, agents, or employees of the district. Each candidate must be a resident of the Salem-Keizer School District 24J, Each year, as members' terms expires, vacant positions are advertised and then appointed by the school board following an interview process during a regular school board meeting. At this time, we have 2 vacancies on the committee, with the appointments expiring as follows. Both terms are 3-year terms, and they would expire on June the 30th, 2018. The district advertised and received 5 applications at the close of September 30th deadline. The applicants are 5 community members, and they're included in our board plate. And our applicants in our board plate are, I got the ballot here, hang on a second. Marcia Atkinson, Mark Bateman, Kyle Carlton, Michael Elliott, and David Glover. And if any are present and would like to speak before the board about why you'd like to be on the budget committee before we take action, come forward. Is Marcia here, please? Marcia, would you like to at least introduce yourself, or if you have any words you like? Okay, we have your application, so we know. Okay, thank you. Mark, anything you'd like to?
Members of the board, thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak and share with you a little bit. My name is Mark Bateman, and I'm pleased to share just a little bit more about why I'd like to continue to serve on the Salem-Keizer School District Citizens Budget Committee. I'm the father of 2 Salem-Keizer students. My son is a 4th grader at Harrod Elementary in the dual language program, and my daughter is a 6th grader newly at Walker Middle School, also in the dual language program. They have had an excellent educational experience in Salem-Keizer. In many ways, very similar to the excellent experience that I had in this school district at Hoover Elementary, Waldo Middle School, and graduating from McKay High School, giving me the opportunity to propel on and get degrees from Johns Hopkins University and George Washington University. But I also know that the nature of education has changed pretty significantly since I was in school. The tools, techniques, technologies, and even the challenges are so much greater than they were 30 years ago when I was in high school. On the technology front, Moore's Law says that computer processing speed will double every 18 months. That's a lot of acceleration in computer processing since my kids were in kindergarten, much less since I was in high school. But I'm convinced that there are significant corollaries to Moore's Law in every other challenge that school districts are now facing. And I'm also convinced that the best way to meet these challenges is to ask questions and engage in dialogue. I didn't come to the Budget Committee 3 years ago with an agenda, and I don't have an agenda now. My objective and my offer is to ask questions and engage in dialogue so that together we can work to improve and better the future educational experience of our students. Thank you for your opportunity to serve with you in the past, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Any questions, Mark? Thank you, Mark. Kyle Carlton, is Kyle here tonight? Okay. Michael Elliott?
Good evening, Chair, Superintendent Perry, members of the board. My name is Michael Elliott, and I would very much enjoy the opportunity to serve on your budget committee. A little bit more about myself. I work for the Oregon Department of Education as the State School Fund Coordinator. I have confirmed there is not a conflict of interest. I work with the State School Fund formula, and I'm very excited to translate my state knowledge and state expertise about how funding gets to districts and move that to a district-specific and an outlook and say, how can I help my district where I went to high school and where my daughter will be attending kindergarten? How can I help the district move forward? How can I help the district, plan, budget to a plan? How can we move all of our kids forward so that all students graduate and are prepared for a successful life? And I believe I have a lot of technical expertise that I can bring to this position. And also, I just know that there's some recent decisions out there. There's a recent PERS decision. The outlook for the economy, while good now, may change. And I think as we continue to look forward, we need to start looking at how are we going to manage those decisions, manage the impacts of those decisions, and I believe I can help the board and Salem-Keizer School District do that. Is there any questions?
Any questions of Michael?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming down, Michael. Thanks for applying. And last, David Gulliver.
Thank you, Chair Kimball and Superintendent Perry and board members. My name is David Gulliver, and I'm very interested in serving as a member of the Citizens Committee. Public service and education are both very important to me. I have a lifelong career in public service. I'm working for Department of Human Services now. I've previously worked with Salem-Keizer Transit and the Oregon Health Authority. I worked as staff in the legislature through a couple of sessions. So I've been through a number of budgetary cycles with government entities, and I'm very familiar with the budget process. I'm an efficiency expert. I'm always looking for ways to do things smarter, faster, better, and that's why I'm looking at this opportunity to serve. Education, again, very important to me. I've had a long and varied career with a number of different steps along the way. I have a law degree, degrees in political science and industrial engineering, 2 associate's degrees, one in applied sciences and one in liberal arts. So I've definitely seen the value of an education throughout my career, and I believe that one of the most important things for the school district to be doing is preparing our children for their future, whether it's a future in higher education and graduate school, or a future going into a skilled trade, or any other aspect of life. It all starts with a good K-12 education. So I'm ready for any questions you have.
Any questions of David?
Thank you.
Okay, none. Thanks for coming down, David. All right, board, we have 5 strong candidates here for 2 positions, so we're going to have to narrow it down to 2. You have a question, Chuck?
This isn't a question, it's just a comment that I can't believe the high caliber of people that we've got to choose from. I'll obviously be voting, but I would be proud to vote for any one of these 5. I've been on the school board now for, I think this is my 9th year, and this is a stellar crop. So from my standpoint, I just want to thank all of you sincerely for stepping forward to offer to give us your services, and somehow I wish we could find ways to keep all 5 of you involved in our budget process.
Thanks for those comments, Chuck.
Can you tell us the process?
So the process we're going to use, you have a packet of ballots in front of you. The top one, the yellow one, is going to be the first one we use on this round. So mark 2 candidates that you prefer as the strongest, and we'll sign the ballot, because this is a public ballot, and we'll pass those ballots to the left to our legal counsel, and they'll tally the votes. And then we'll move on from there on Paul's guidance.
We're passing them down. Everybody
habit.
else folded theirs.
Okay. Chair Kimball, cast a ballot for Marcia Atkinson.
Excuse me, Mr. Decopoulos, could you please use your microphone?
No. Marcia Atkinson and Mark. The Director McMorris Addicks cast a ballot for Atkinson and Bateman. Director Lee cast a ballot for Bateman and Gulliver. Director Kylo cast a ballot for Bateman and Elliott. Director Hyen cast a ballot for Atkinson and Gulliver. And Director Brantley cast a ballot for Bateman and Elliott. Did I record those correctly? I'm sure I did, but. So we have an election for Bateman. And so you'll have to vote again for the second candidate.
Okay, so on our second round, we have 3 candidates for the second round. Kyle Carlton is,
Correct.
okay. So on the orange paper, you have 3 candidates to choose from,
Do we vote for just one?
and vote for just one.
Yeah, you're just voting for one.
Yep. Yeah.
Director Kylo casts his ballot for Michael Elliott. Director Lee casts his ballot for David Gulliver. Chairperson Kimball votes for Marcia Atkinson. Director Brantley votes for Michael Elliott. And Director Hyen votes for Marcia Atkinson.
You didn't read mine?
Did have one from Director McMorris-Oddix in there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll need to go through these. Let me go through these again, just so I make sure they're correct. So Director Kylo votes for Michael Elliott. Director Lee votes for David Gulliver. Director McMorris-Addix votes for Marcia Atkinson. Director Kimball votes for Marcia Atkinson. Director Brantley for Michael Elliott. And Director Hyen for Marcia Atkinson.
We have
So I hope we have some more colored paper.
Oh, we do, we got.
because we gotta
Have to
have, we,
four. We have to
yeah,
have a
Yeah.
majority of 4.
we have to have 4. We're missing one person, so achieving 4 is sometimes a little longer to get there, so. So we still vote for one. And we still have 3 candidates, correct?
Correct.
Let me make sure I'm on target here.
Director McMorris-Addix votes for Marcia Atkinson. Director Lee votes for Marcia Atkinson. Chairperson Kimball for Marcia Atkinson. Director Kylo votes for Michael Elliott. Director Brantley for Michael Elliott. And Director Hyen for Marcia Atkinson. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul and Mary, for your help. So the board has chosen to elect Mark Bateman and Marcia Atkinson to the 2 open seats. Thank you for applying, and for the three gentlemen, thank you for applying. And we have seats every year, so if you keep that interest up, and thank you very much. Okay, we can move on to our consent calendar. Okay, in the consent calendar tonight, we have the revisions in board policies that were discussed at previous meetings, adoptions and appropriation of grant budgets, and personnel actions. Is there anything on this consent calendar anyone would like to pull for consideration on its own? Otherwise, we'd adopt the whole consent calendar as presented. Nancy, you need to pull anything?
Nope,
Yeah.
I was going to move adoption.
Chris, you okay? You going to pull anything, or you all right? Okay, so Nancy moves adoption, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Paul. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Same sign, none. So we're unanimous, Christie. Okay, next on our board plate is readings. And we have one reading tonight, and it's revisions in board policies. At our September 22nd, 2015 work session, the school board reviewed and discussed suggested revisions to board job description BG 10 and agenda planning BG 9, two of our policies. These two policies are attached, and the suggested revisions are marked with the new language underlined, and language to be removed is struck through. The suggested revisions align the policies with the current practices and activities of the school board. There's no action on this tonight. This is a first reading. These are presented as a first reading, and they're open for discussion. We will have them as an action item on November the 10th at our next board meeting, November 10th, 2015. So is there any discussion on these changes tonight? Anybody wants to bring forward? Chris?
I feel like I don't really need to say what I'm going to say to the board, so I'm really saying this to the audience and to anybody that's watching. We have had extensive discussion of this in 2 meetings now, both of them not this meeting, but in a couple different work sessions that we've had, our summer retreat and then again last month. And so the board's very aware of my thinking on these things, but I want to just sort of recount. I'm going to vote against these changes if they stay the way they are for our next time, and I just want to make sure that people out there know my take on why I'm voting no on these changes. When I got on the board, or was elected to the board 6 years ago, I came from going through a fairly rigorous campaign and a lot of coffees in people's living rooms and things like that. And characteristically in those meetings, I heard from people that they felt that the board's discussions were cursory, that there wasn't a lot of depth in what the board dealt with, and that there was almost no communication between the board and the people who elected them. So I came onto the board with that in my background, and I started out really quickly trying to understand what policy governance was, because a lot of those people blamed it on policy governance. And I started reading the handbook on policy governance, and one of the things said very early in that thing is that there's a responsibility of elected officials and of all board members, whether they're in corporate or public positions, to know who the owners of that organization are and to make sure that they know who they are and how, and determine ways for them to be heard. And it was the determine ways for them to be heard piece that really stuck in my craw, because I didn't think that the board was doing a very good job of that. So I started bringing it up in my second year on the board, and then we hit the budget problems that we faced a few years ago, and then we went through transition of a superintendent, and so this year was the year that things settled down enough I thought I would bring it up again and push on it a little bit. And so what I started to do is to go back to our policy that said that we were supposed to be determining and using proactive strategies to ensure constructive two-way dialogue with the people in the community, and it identified students, staff, parents, citizens, and all of that was supposed to be around defining for the district what we believed as a community were the characteristics that our students needed to have when they graduated, and what should they know and be able to do. So I started last summer pushing on that a little bit in our summer retreat and said, I don't think we do a very good job of determining and using proactive strategies. After much debate about that, we now have a policy change in front of us that says, basically, we're going to cross that out, that we don't need proactive strategies to ensure two-way communication. We're going to instead interact with students, staff, parents, and citizens, both as individual members of the board and as a whole board, to gather feedback that may help us guide decisions. In other words, it takes the onus off of us to be sure that we have proactive strategies. And then in the other policy, the agenda planning, it says, it used to say that there will be these educational opportunities for the board to think about results policies and hear from experts to tell us about the world of education today, the world of the future of our students, and those kinds of things, so that we are better informed towards making good results policies. That's now crossed out. It doesn't say will anymore. It now says may. And it basically takes and says information related to the impacts of the legislative changes and suggested revisions for the board's results policies. It takes the idea of educating the board away. I went to a regional meeting of OSBA last week? No, 2 weeks ago now. And one of the boards in our region was talking about a new effort that they have underway where at least once a month they read current literature about education and about what students should know and be able to do, and they get together and they talk about that and they inform themselves through reading. They refer to themselves as a learning community. That's sort of the vision that I had for this board when I started pushing on this. I had no intention when I started pushing on this to have the board turn around and change its policies, not its behavior. And so I really feel that this is 180 degrees opposite the way we should be moving as a board, away from assuring that we have regular ongoing communication with the community and towards, well, we might do it, we might not, kind of behavior. And in other words, it's sanctioning the behavior that I've seen as being a problem for this board since my beginning. So I just want to say that again, make sure that people understand where I'm coming from on this.
Any other comments or discussion tonight? Okay, thanks, Chris. This will come next month for action, and there'll be a chance for more communication and discussion on it. All right, next is, that's all the readings tonight. We have reports. We have one monitoring report tonight that's on executive limitation number 4, relationships with staff and volunteers. I'll turn it over to Superintendent Perry.
All right, this is our executive limitation report number 4 out of 12. And this is with respect to relationships with staff and volunteers. The superintendent shall not cause or allow conditions, procedures, actions, or decisions which are unlawful, unethical, inequitable, unsafe, disrespectful, disruptive, undignified, or in violation of board policy. What I want to say about this particular executive limitation is we have a number of places where we have checks and balances on the system to ensure that this is happening. What I won't tell you is that we are always perfect in every interaction, but we have checks and balances to catch when we have either made a mistake or have employees that have made a mistake. And we've had lots of conversation about what is a non-compliance. And I want to show you where I have added a bit of a section here. So a lot of this is similar, although updated from last year, but where I've added a section is around number 5, which is number 5A, specifically open, honest, and effective communication in all written and interpersonal interactions and respect for others and their opinions. And down under number 5, I added an opportunity for growth, because I think we have a unique opportunity for growth where we have a new executive director of HR, and he has looked at some of our communications that come out that says we can do better. Don't necessarily rise to non-compliance, but if we're really being respectful for others and communicating proactively and positively, we can do better than what we've done. So he has kind of embarked on a series of updates to some of that language, and I thought it was important for you to know that he was working on that and that it was really one area of growth for his department. And other than that, there were no, although multiple incidences along the way, no evidence of non-compliance, because our checks and balances in our system have caught those.
Okay,
So I will open up for questions.
Any questions of Superintendent Perry? Paul?
I have a couple of just wording questions.
Mhm.
I find the wording awkward or confusing to my poor addled little brain. Under 1, the paragraph that starts with "in addition,"
Mhm.
for all employees new to the district, procedures have been put into place to comply with House Bill 2062 to request information from prior employers, okay, on unsubstantiated sex misconduct for any individual to be hired. Okay, so that's us doing our background checks that we've been doing anyway.
Yes, and there is
but
that
these are
new
more
addition.
extensive.
More extensive, and districts are required to disclose any incidences of sexual
But
misconduct.
that's only school districts?
I am not 100% sure if the law applies
John
only.
says yes, it
John
only
says
applies
yes.
to school districts.
Okay.
That's why he's sitting there, and that's why we look over to him.
Yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
yes, and then under number 3, at the top of the second page, the paragraph that starts all.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me that there's a word missing in there. All district employees are required to complete either an online training or a scheduled training session on sexual harassment. Is that identifying, reporting, practicing?
On,
It just seems like there should be a descriptor there of some sort.
as in on reporting sexual
Yeah,
harassment.
exactly,
And,
yes,
yep, I
yeah.
get that.
And
Yes.
the same would be true in number 7, the last sentence, where it says annual online mandatory training for all staff is provided on sexual harassment. Internet use, it probably should be identifying violations of.
Yes,
or-
and what is sexual harassment? What? Yes.
Exactly. So
Mhm.
they weren't real criticism, just questions about clarifying.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions tonight of the superintendent? Remember, the executive limitations form part of the evaluation of the superintendent, so I'll be looking for at least consensus from a thumbs up that this is adequate content on this limitation. Everybody? Okay. Looks good. We have consensus here. All right, let's move on to information items, and tonight on our list of meetings, you'll know we have a change. It should have been in just the mail you got this week, but the October 27th meeting has been changed to November the 3rd. So if you look at your schedule there and change that to November 3rd, we'll have a work session on strategic plan report and student achievement results. And you may recall that from the notes that we will be considering the results policy after we get this report, because we've had some discussion around that, and we've tabled it until we have this report, so we can talk about some of the items we're interested in and see if the data is already there. So be sure to attend that meeting on November 3rd. That's it for the information items. Let's move on to audience communications on non-agenda items. We have 3 people signed up to speak, and you have a limit of 3 minutes, and when you reach the podium, if you could state your name and address for the record, we can have that on the recording, and then our council will be running the lights. When the yellow light turns on, here's 2 minutes is up, and the red light on, and the 3 minutes is up. So first we have Natalie Altermat. Natalie?
Good evening, Chair, Superintendent Perry, and members of the board. I'm Natalie Altermat, Keizer, Oregon. I would like the school board to address the issue of students not being able to access science, technology, engineering, and math classes. There's a lot of really excellent ones out there, but there's some issues and concerns about the students actually getting to take them. My son, for example, is a 6th grader in the Salem-Keizer district. He spends 1/3 of his school day in language arts and does not have a science class this semester. Although Michael earned a 4 on his Smarter Balanced Language Arts test last year, he clearly does not need to spend 2 of his 6 class periods in language arts at the expense of science. This is not an intervention, which would be appropriate for students who are below grade level. This is a one-size-fits-all policy which is applied to all 6th graders, and it is not an appropriate use of instructional time for my son. In fact, it is violating my tag son's right to an appropriate education during the school day. I understand that according to policy, he will have science next semester. This is not enough. He will also only get 1 semester of science his 7th grade year. Right now, Michael is interested in science. Let's keep that interest going.
Children this age can quickly lose interest in and enthusiasm for areas of interest if said interests are not nurtured. He needs the opportunity to learn more during a full year of science instruction in which the school demonstrates that science is important enough to have a full year every year of high-quality instruction. Although his middle school does offer several excellent STEM electives that would be very suitable and appropriate for my son, he is unable to access these classes because there are simply not enough class periods in the day, which is why I object to him languishing in the double language arts. He exceeded on the state test. I urge the school board to consider the impact the double language arts policy has on students, perhaps on a case-by-case basis if necessary. My son's education is being harmed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Natalie. Next, we have Jerry Thompson signed up. Jerry?
Well, good evening, Chairman Kimball, Christie, the Superintendent Perry, and the board. I'm Jerry Thompson, I live on State Street out here in Salem. I'm a director of the Salem Area Mass Transit District, and I'm also one of the board members that are leading the charge for the Yes for Chariots program. I'm not going to give you a political talk tonight. I'm just going to tell you what the ballot measure involves. I wanted to make sure that you were aware that it was on the ballot and what impact it might have for the school board. And right now, tomorrow the ballots go out, and then the election ends on November 3rd. The measure will provide weekend bus service at Saturday, Sunday, and holiday bus service, and also includes later evening service. But more importantly to the board, it includes the restoring the student bus pass program that we had several years ago. That program was funded by the state energy tax credits, and it went away in 2011. We had it for about 2 years, and we carried about 1 million rides a year on the buses with your students. And as I understand it from some of the people I talked to, that the the taking of the SATs, which was on Saturday, had reduced substantially after the bus pass program went away. The morning activities before school and the afternoon after school activities kind of were affected very strongly also. What we are proposing is a 0.21% of payroll tax on businesses, which will give us $5 million to do this project. And the medium business in our area has a payroll of $80,300 plus a year. That would amount to $169 in payroll tax, a small amount. The average payroll is $454,000, and it would amount to about less than $1,000 a year. And what we're doing is just proposing this, and we hope that it will pass. If so, we're negotiating between our board members to decide when the student bus pass program portion would start, whether it would be able to start in January of 16 or the start of the school year in September of 16. So that's my presentation, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Jerry.
This is our 47th presentation. I don't know how we missed the school board along the way. Thanks.
Thanks for coming down tonight. And last, we have Brittany Cronin.
Good evening. I'm Chairperson Kimball, Superintendent Perry, and members of the board. My name is Brittany Cronin. I'm a campaign organizer with OSPIRG, the Oregon Public Interest Group. I'm here tonight to talk about our campaign to make our tax system fair by closing corporate tax loopholes. So you might be wondering what I'm doing at a school board meeting. Leaders in education are a really important voice in this campaign, as having firsthand experience with the constraints of public funding. Yours is an important voice. So what we're looking at is many US-based multinational corporations use loopholes to move their profits into offshore tax havens. So these are countries where they're paying little to no federal taxes. Oftentimes these subsidiaries represent nothing more than a phantom entity, a PO box in the Cayman Islands, for example. This practice is perfectly legal within our tax code currently. and it comes at an enormous cost to the public. So the cost to federal taxpayers is an estimated $90 billion each year, and then Oregonian taxpayers lose an additional $200 million. When we're being asked to make, this comes at a cost to the public, so when these large and profitable corporations aren't paying the taxes that they would otherwise owe, it's the public that has to pick up the tab. So that could mean higher individual taxes, adding to our national debt, or making cuts to public programs like education, infrastructure, or healthcare, for example. We feel that corporations that earn their profit in this country ought to pay their fair share of taxes, just like the rest of American taxpayers do. So we're working for some pretty common sense changes that would simply close these loopholes so that corporations are paying their fair share as well. Here in Oregon, our Senator Ron Wyden is the ranking member on the Finance Committee, so that just means that he's an important decision maker. He has a ton of power to really make a difference on the federal level. So we're building up the voices of key stakeholders. That includes small business owners, faith leaders, and education leaders from all over the state to show Senator Wyden their support for corporate tax reform. I'm going to stick around after the meeting. I'd love to set up just a quick meeting of 20 minutes with anyone that's interested in talking more about the campaign and how to get involved. It really doesn't take a lot of time. We have a sign-on letter that we're getting sign-ons with and meeting with Senator Wyden's staff next week. So I'll be around, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Brittany.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all we have signed for talking on non-agenda items, so we'll move on to superintendent or board reports on activities in the last month. Anything anybody would like to report? Paul?
I'm not sure I was officially there, but we had a nice CTEC grand opening. It was great. It was very well attended. It was a very nice event. So, kudo to Chuck and to Karina, everybody who put it together.
You have some comments, Chuck, on it?
No, just it was a great event. It was good to see some board members there. We really appreciated it. It was a good event. I think we had about 175 to 200 people. It was very, very well attended. The superintendent was very eloquent with her remarks, and it was just a great event. And the evening before, I had an opportunity to go to the Chemeketa Community College's grand opening of their new CTEC Center, which is incredible. And we've been able to align our manufacturing program curriculum-wise with Chemeketa Community College. And it was just exciting to see the night before CTEC's opening, or dedication, to see what Chemeketa's done with the last of their bond money. So they did a great job. I also want to point out that I had a chance with a couple other board members to go to North Salem High School for the kickoff for the Aspire program, which is Salem-Keizer's, I think, the only district in the state of Oregon to have the Aspire program. And we had a representative from the nation's capital there to talk about the program, and it was a great kickoff. And kudos to the Salem-Keizer Education Foundation for their leadership in bringing that exciting program to North Salem and our school district.
Thanks, Chuck. Chris?
Chuck just stole a little of my thunder because I was going to tell you about a really great morning I had, and actually went into afternoon, didn't it? I got asked by OSBA to go out to Stevens Middle School one morning for their Promise of Oregon campaign photo shoot. You backed out on them, so I got to go. Nancy.
I didn't back out on them.
Oh,
I
okay.
wasn't free when they asked me to do
Oh,
it.
I thought
That's a very different thing,
They
Chris.
presented you wrong then. But anyhow, I'm just teasing anyhow. But the morning was really interesting because what they're doing with their Promise of Oregon campaign is interviewing kids about why they are the Promise of Oregon. And so we had the opportunity to be there as students were interviewed and got to watch that process of them going. And it's always fun for a former middle school principal to go back to a middle school and actually interact with kids in that kind of a setting where they're getting to sort of dream and do that on camera. It was really neat. And then I turned around from that and went over to the Aspire program, and what I found really interesting there was that Salem-Keizer's the only district in the state of Oregon to have Aspire in all of their high schools, and that's really where we have broken ground in this district with Aspire. And for those of you that aren't aware of the Aspire program, it is simply a program aimed at students who do not have a family history of college going, and helping those families through the many stages and steps of deciding if college is the right thing for their student, and if it is the right thing for their student, getting them through the all application processes, getting them through the forms you have to fill out for student aid is the word that's coming to my mind, for scholarship kinds of programs. And if that is not the right option, if college isn't where the student is headed, really helping the student become purposeful about deciding what is and setting a goal for where they want to end high school and where they want to go next. And so it's a really interesting program, and the fact that we have it in all of our schools and are the first to do so was pretty neat. The other thing I went to was the ribbon cutting for the new home that the CTEC Center is going to build this year. It was the neat part again for me was when we got there, those students had been prepped beautifully for doing one-on-one conversation with people, and they came out and presented themselves and shook our hands and looked us in the eye and talked to us about the program and what they were getting out of it, and it was just a really neat time. And then we went through the ribbon cutting, but the interaction with the students was the real fun part of it. So.
Thanks, Chris. Marty.
So pretty much everything's been said. I was also at the Aspire event, not at the school, but at the evening. And also really happy to learn that we have that now in all our high schools. The thing I enjoyed most about the CTEC dedication was that the tours were student-led, and it was nice to kind of experience the schools and how things were set up from their point of view, instead of maybe an administrator that's trying to impress you with something, how much they really enjoy the opportunity that they're getting. And I just really like that.
Thanks, Marty. Anybody else? That's it? All right, we'll end with closing comments from the superintendent.
Right, so I just have a couple. I wanted to make note that Jay Remy is not with us tonight. He was invited down to Umpqua Community College. So he is serving as director of communications down there and helping funnel some of that traffic and helping them with the next steps forward. So good place for him to be for sure. His staff has really stepped up as he's gone. So we've had a lot still going on. He's been pretty immersed down there, but really compliments to Katie and Brian and Aaron and Karma, because they just have stepped right up. So they're well trained, and I checked in with him last night and he said, it's a lot. So also, we had 3 of our staff members, Brad Kapner, Chrissy Chapman, and Teresa Talento, who presented to the Legislative Education Committee on dual language. And I thought that was really a compliment to them to be asked to present about dual language to a legislative body that's really trying to learn more. And so, as I understand it, they did a great job, but I wanted to say thank you to Neil and his shop for allowing them to do that, because I think that's really important in our state right now. And then just as a note to you, I'm on 3 and Michael Wolf was on 1, but there are just a number of things that are swirling in the state right now. Out of the legislative session, there's a number of work groups, and we believe it's really important as the second largest district that we're at the table at those work groups. So we are representing on the ELL funding committee with Mike Wolf, and then I'm on the EL Outcomes Committee, the Poverty Work Group, and the Assessment and Accountability Work Group. All of those groups have outcomes that they want by about mid-November, so it's a really tight timeline, but really important for us to attend to that, because as you know, we have a lot of ELL kids and a lot of kids in poverty, and it's important to see what's going to move forward in the legislative session. So I'm, with staff help, I'm keeping a really close eye on those. And then I just want to note also that I think it's Saturday night is a Freedom Fund banquet by for the NAACP. I don't know if anyone else can attend, but I know that Larry Ramirez and myself will be attending on behalf of the district.
Thank you, Christy. Before I adjourn the meeting, Mr. Paulson, if you want to see if you can get your students here next month, we will do that presentation, okay? Okay. Sounds good. All right, with that, we're going to adjourn tonight's meeting. Thank you all for coming.